All right, in this video, this is a guaranteed strategy that if you follow these steps, I guarantee you will pass your PNC or life and health insurance license on the first try. So let's dive into some of these tips, mistakes that I made, and then also things that I used that got me to pass the exam. And I've talked to many agents, and these tips have been really helpful. So I highly recommend you implement them, give them a try, especially if you are taking your exam or you've tried to take your exam and you can't pass. These are really going to help you. So let's dive into it. Okay, so at this point, you probably already have a pre-license course, the 52-hour course in California, or other states are different, but there's a pre-license course I highly recommend as step one in guaranteeing to pass your exam. Actually read the course. Read through the verbiage, understand the vocabulary, understand the foundational knowledge of how insurance works. That's what this course is really about. They will also show you some, practice exams and quizzes where you can go through what the questions might look like on the exam. There's going to be double negatives. So you start to get an idea also what the test is going to look like. But most importantly from this, just reading through the actual vocabulary and understanding the foundation. The test isn't that hard, but it is very hard if you don't understand and don't know the vocabulary. Let me give you an example. Most people that don't do insurance don't know what subrogation might be. That's a common word used in insurance, subrogation. Or apparel, like what is apparel? Nobody knows what apparel is, but if you study and you read the vocabulary, I believe the insurance exam is like one big vocab test, and then you just apply your logic and knowledge that you do know about insurance with the vocabulary they're throwing at you. So that's my number one tip. Learn the actual course, learn the vocabulary, implement that with logic on the actual exam. All right, step number two, you just passed the pre-license course, you got your little pre-license certificate, awesome, you're ready to take the exam, get in there and take the real state exam. Now the money's on the line. The next thing that I highly recommend is blocking out 1 to 2 weeks of just dedicated, cleared time to study and really hammer in that information for the actual real exam. This is a great time to also be doing practice exams. I would like to do, 1 or 2 practice exams per day, and meanwhile just really kind of learning and doing flashcards and doubling down on my actual knowledge of the words and how different products and coverages and those things worked. That's what I highly recommend. Setting 1 to 2 weeks, setting your exam 1 to 2 weeks in advance. Another thing, don't get analysis paralysis. A lot of people start to get hung up on I'm not ready, I can't set my exam. Set the exam date in 2 weeks so that puts the fire under you that says, let's go, I'm going to pass this test and there's no turning back. So you gotta set the exam date and lock it in so that you can go and take that exam and crush it. Another thing, like I said, there's a bunch of free quizzes online. You can actually take free quizzes. Some of these are shorter, so you don't have to go through 150 questions to find out which ones you got wrong. You might forget them. So some of them, this is a big tip, do shorter quizzes. There's a site called, I don't know if it still exists, but this is something I was using. It's called ProProfs.com. So PROFS.com. They have free quizzes for different state license exams, so you can go Google PNC license Pro Profs and it should come up. You can do those and it gives you the right answer right away when you answer the question. Really helpful. It was very helpful for me. Do a lot of practice exams. Make sure you're passing at least an 80% rate. The exam in California at least is 60% to pass, but if you're passing consistently at 80%, I'm confident you're going to be in a great spot to pass on your first try. So highly recommend that. Practice exams, give yourself enough time, and then set the date, get out there and make it happen. All right, step number 3, this is the actual execution of the exam. It is, as I mentioned, this exam is gonna throw double negatives at you. It's gonna throw stuff that sounds right, but they're making it sound wrong. There's, a bunch of tricks and twists that they might throw at you in this exam, so be ready for that. Don't panic if you don't know the first 5 questions. That's another thing that, you go in there, you think you're so ready, you see the first 3 or 4 or 5 questions, and you're like, what the heck? I've never even seen these. I didn't see any of these on my practice exams. Don't panic. Stay consistent. Execute the exam like a war. You have to be, it's a statistics, exam. So you want to use the process of elimination. That's a very, very important one. Eliminate the one you know for sure is wrong. And then you can narrow it down to 3 or 2 because it's a 4, multiple question exam. You can narrow it down to 2. If you can narrow it down to 2, you're at a 50-50. You're already in a great spot to get into a 60% range if you're answering most of them correctly. So process of elimination. Also use the flags and go back to those questions. At least in California, you're allowed to flag questions that you're not sure about and leave them blank and move on. It's amazing how many of those answers you end up finding later in the exam. So flag the ones you don't know, move on to the next one. Keep going, and then at the end of the exam, your juices are already flowing. You might go back to, number 6 and number 11 and number 28, and then you're like, wait a minute, I just saw that at the end here. That's the answer. Boom. So you can answer those at the end. The other really, really important thing that I highly recommend, this is a massive mistake I made. I had a bunch of flagged answers. I was doing the right thing. I was flagging the ones I didn't know. And then I went back. What I did was I flagged them, but I still answered them. Finished the exam, and I told myself I'm gonna go back to all my flagged answers and just review them, make sure they're right. I'd been sitting there for 3 hours and I got burnt out and I was tired, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. Hopefully the flagged answers are right and hopefully I pass. Boom, submitted it to finish the exam, went over to get my score, and I failed by 1 question. I know for a fact that if I had gone back and looked through my flagged answers, I probably would have made some adjustments. It could have been the passing answer, that could have been the one that got me over to get my license and pass the exam. Don't rush through it. Don't be in a hurry to get out of there. Take your time. You have plenty of time to do it, and make sure to go back and review all your flagged answers. If you're the last person in the room and everyone rushes out because they finished the exam before you, don't take that as a sign that you need to hurry. That doesn't matter. You're running your own pace. You're studying, you're passing your own exam. Do not worry about anyone else around you, and be patient. That is a massive mistake I made. So use the process of elimination. Okay, and then last tip for you. Sorry, I almost forgot this one. A cheat sheet. You need to have a cheat sheet in your car 30 minutes before the exam. Get there 30 minutes early. Review and refresh. Get your juices turning. Don't go cramming, studying all morning. Get a good breakfast. Relax. Review your stuff. Review your stuff 30 minutes before the exam to get your wheels turning. In your car, sit there for 30 minutes. You have to do this. This is very important. Don't show up 5 minutes before the exam. Get there 30 minutes in advance and study and do your vocab. Just at least refresh all the vocabulary terms and maybe some of the major questions you've been getting wrong so that your juices are flowing, and when you go in there, you're off to the races, you're jamming. Patience, use the process of elimination, and then if you use the other steps that I've mentioned in this video, I am confident that you will pass on the first try. It is actually not just confidence. I guarantee you'll pass on the first try, but you need to execute exactly what I'm saying. So hopefully this does help you. I hope I brought some value to you. If you did, give us a like, subscribe, share this with somebody who's taking the exam. Would really appreciate it. If you do have any questions for me, you can always DM me on Instagram. I'm usually always responding on Instagram at Chris the Insurance Guy. Boom. Chris the Insurance Guy. And then you can also hit me up on chriscostantini.com if you want one-on-one consulting or coaching or training. Happy to do that for you too. We do offer those services, especially if you're trying to pass an exam. I can definitely help you answer a lot of questions. So that's all I got. Hopefully brought some value for you, and we'll see you guys at the top. See you soon. Peace.